Welcome to my world, a place where we discuss whatever we want to. Buckle up and enjoy the ride on this thing called life. Hey you guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited because for the first time ever, we have our very first guest, okay? And this is not just any type of guest. When I tell you I'm so excited to talk to him, not just because he's a great musician, but because he is getting the bag silently, which is what we all want, right? Fame is great and wonderful, and I'm sure he has a lot of it. But when I tell you, when you see those little coins on your bank account and you were not seen, that's the ultimate goal. Well, you guys, we're going to start with a book, of course. You guys know that here in the podcast, we love literature, we love education, and we try to make reading cool again. So, we are going to start with the book Girls That Invest by Simran Kaur. She also has a podcast called, you guessed it, Girls That Invest. And I'm going to start with two beautiful paragraphs that define financial freedom, specifically to women. And though our guest is not a woman, well, he has a lot to teach us in terms of financial literacy and freedom. So let's go ahead, read these two paragraphs, and then I'll present you our wonderful host. So, title, Get Financial Freedom and Security. Money is a huge stressor in the lives of women. In fact, a 2019 survey by Salary Finance showed millennial women were more stressed about money than millennial men, and were more likely to suffer from panic attacks over financial issues. When it comes to stress, we often think about the stress of work or family commitments, yet money is the number one cause of stress for us and the number one cause of divorce. With those statistics, you'd think we would have a bit more access to financial literacy tools, or at least a pamphlet. Financial stability has a powerful flow-on effect in our lives. In fact, in 2022, the study, The Impact of a Poverty Reduction Intervention on Infant Brain Activity, found that providing mothers of newborns an extra $300 a month for a year ended up improving babies' brain development compared to those whose mothers were only given $20 a month. This points to the socioeconomic effects money has on our lives. Up to a certain level, money improves our well-being in physical and mental health outcomes. It improves our ability to access higher education, network into better-paying jobs, and frees up our time to connect with our communities. Now, guys, we are ready to welcome our guest, the one and only Kaysha.
Oh my God, I'm the first guest.
Yes, you should feel honored.
Wow. I am. It's an honor to be the first guest, and I'll try to be the first of a long list of many great guests, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely. So, Kaysha, when I met you, first of all, I was excited because me as an artist, because we've discussed my music song, like all of that, and I was very impressed when I did my research on you and I found out that you had a podcast. It was quite interesting because I thought, okay, he's an artist. He's going to be talking mainly music, mainly artist stuff. But then
so you investigated me.
Of course. I mean, you're my guest. I'm supposed to do that.
I thought it was when you met me back then. It was like, you investigated
but I kind of already... I mean, a little bit, but I have to say,
all right.
The real investigation started afterwards. So,
sure.
When I found out that you actually covered a lot of topics, dating, education, financial literacy, I was like, okay, this is really cool. And then you have this crazy amount of links to, then I found out, multiple streams of income. So
yes.
I was very interested, and especially I know that you had the interview with Bantu Man where you guys kind of covered all of that. And I was very curious to actually understand, first of all, how in the hell, like specifically, do you make money with music nowadays? Of course, I know you have the streaming and the the record deals and all of that. And I recall you were saying in the Buntaman interview that back in the day, your dream was to be in a label
Yes.
contract. And
Yeah.
nowadays, you don't actually feel like artists need to go through that route. They can do it independently, they could do it freely. So, my whole
Yeah.
idea was to kind of understand, well, then, if we can do it freely, does it justify? Do we, if we don't need the label support in those terms, when, where is the money?
The thing is this, like a label, you better off having a bank loan you money nowadays for what you need to do as an artist. The only problem we have as artists is how to reach people. Back in the days, the only way to reach people was to have your song play on the radio or your music video play on TV, and then the people will take their purse, leave their home, take the metro or the taxi, go to a store, buy the object where your music is. So there was a whole logistic on how to get your music from the recording studio up to the inside of the object, which was a CD or vinyl or cassette, and then on the shelf of the stores. So all this was, I don't know, probably 10 steps from having somebody pay for you to record music because it costs a lot of money. A session was around 2,000 euros a day back in
What?
the days.
Now, when
Yeah,
was
those big
this? This is
studios.
dinosaur
No,
time then.
no. Yeah, the 80s, 90s,
Wow.
end of the and beginning of the 2000s.
Yeah.
It cost a ton of money to record an album. So imagine you have a month of recording.
Yeah.
You have to be paying every day. So it costs like, I don't know, it costs you 30, 40, 50,000 just to record your song. So you don't have that kind of money,
Wow.
right?
Of course.
So now after that, you have to master the song, the album.
Yeah.
The mastering, some strange process that they say is the last, the icing on the cake.
Right.
So you do the master. Then you have to create a glass master. The glass master goes to the factory. The factory takes the glass master. From the glass master, does the duplication process. You want 10,000 copies of your album, it's gonna cost you 20,000. So we already had 70,000 to record your music
Exactly.
out, right? After that, you have to print. You have to print the booklets inside, etc. You have to buy all the plastic thing where you're going to put the CDs. Then you have to print on the CDs. All this is another factory or the same factory that is having all these robots doing the duplication, printing, this and that. After that, everything has to be put under wrap. After that, everything goes in boxes. Then after that, you have distribution going on, which all these boxes have to go in the different stores that are ordering, right? Once the store order, they will decide where they put you on the shelves. And depending on if the people come and buy your product, then they will order more to your
Right.
record company or the distribution company, because you also had you had a recording contract, but you also had a distribution contract of, and sometimes record companies, the big ones,
Right.
they also had a distribution part that their goal was to order the fabrication, and then from the fabrication send everything to the different stores.
Yeah.
And then they had stores. So let's say, okay, I do a loan of 50,000. I go to a bank, they give me 50,000, and I go and I go to a factory. I pay the studio. I do all these things by myself, and now I have my own studio. So I go out as an independent. The stores had limited shelf space. So let's say the zouk or kizomba or world music, where we were put back then, you had like a 2 meter shelf of, I would say, 5 stories.
Right.
On there, all the CDs were there, and they would come to you and say, "Yeah, who you working with? I'm by myself. Oh, no, we don't take independent. You have to have a distribution. Oh, I do? Yes. So you have to, because those people don't work with anybody.
Right.
In the last 20 years, what happened? This microphone that I'm using is the microphone that was used to record Thriller by Michael Jackson.
Wow.
Old version. I mean, that version of that microphone cost back then 5,000. But today, I ordered this in Amazon and it's in USB for 200. So
Yeah.
anybody now can record. So you don't need that extra 30,000 in the beginning to record your music. Now, anybody can mix with more or less success, but anybody can mix themselves. You learn a little bit, you understand how you mix your voice. There's a lot of presets. Sounds good to you, put it out, and then you learn as you do the process. Okay, what about the distribution? Nowadays, well, to distribute, you just go to DistroKid or just even podcast. It's the same. You just, once you have your audio, you upload it through the internet. That is free now. Back in the days, internet cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Sometimes you would have had a bill of 500 just because of internet usage. Today you pay a fix from your cable company, and you have everything with you. So distribution, people used to go to a store to get your product. Now they take up their phone and they have access to everything in the world. So you don't have to fight for shelving. So in the end, and the money is sent to you directly through whoever is distributing you from. It goes from Spotify, Apple Music, etc. And then they take their cut, of course, and then they send it to you directly wherever you want, straight to your bank account, to your PayPal, to your whatever. So back in the days, a record label would ask you 92% of your revenue to do that. They would give you 8% because they would pay for everything up front.
Yeah. So they'll be expecting.
Yeah, if you can record with 200 euros or 300 euros to do your project, and you can shoot a video. And I'm not talking about videos. My first video cost $25,000.
Wow.
My video. The last video I paid cost me $1,000, and it's better quality because the camera also got
better.
Everything disrupted. So everything is cheap. So and anybody with a phone today.
Yeah.
You don't even people now with iPhone 14. Like so the whole industry has changed, and this is what I tell people. Actually, if you go to the bank, ask for 5,000, do your project. Once your project is done, a day of studio used to cost 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Today you can get a day in the studio, 12 hours for 100 and some.
Yeah.
You can record at home.
Yeah.
So labels are actually acting like this now because they know that too. And I think I knew that so early in my career. I was like...
Yeah, because that's what I wanted to ask you. Because you've been so successful with music, but I also feel like you've been one of the first people to be like, this is great and all, but let me put my several eggs in several baskets type of thing.
But I came from everybody else's dream as well. My goal was to be signed to Sony because I had Sony TV, Sony Walkman, and that was my dream. And I signed to Sony. First 2 albums, I was there, and to me it was like, I'm here. Like when I signed, it was the most beautiful day of my life.
Yeah. But
then I start to realize that I start to be frustrated because it was a huge company and there was a lot of politics involved. And I had ideas of what I wanted to do, and I keep being laughed at for my ideas. Early on, I'm talking about in 98, I told them I want to have my own label. And they started laughing at me. I was like, are you laughing? No, listen, I want to be the African Puff Daddy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have that, and they start laughing. Yeah, African Puff Daddy. Yeah. I was reading interviews of how people in the US were doing their business and how they were using their brands to not only do music but also support other musicians and then branch out. Early on, I remember Puff Daddy having the Sean John brand, and he had Justin restaurants, and I was reading those things on Vibe magazine, and I was like, this is the way.
Yeah.
This is what you have to do. So I didn't put words on it, but I understood very, very early that the brand is way more important than the music. Back then, as long as you had some good music, even if you had one good song, you could sell tons of CDs because people had no choice. To get that song, they had to buy that one CD. But as the iTunes store came out and people had the choice to just pick that one song they wanted and pay 99 cents, the whole CD business was on the path to doomsday. And I told me, it's the thing with me is I see things so early that when I tell this to people, they I think they think I speak Chinese. When I tell people
Yeah.
DVDs are dead, in 2005, I go online and these two guys just created a website called YouTube. And in that website, they upload a video of them in the zoo. And they say, hey, you can create an account as well and you can upload a video as well. So I upload my video, One Love. And I send the link to all the fans in Africa that are telling me, we wish we could see your music videos.
Right,
And I'm like,
online and not just on
if you
TV.
have internet, you can see it now. And
Right.
all the DJs that used to play my music in Africa, every time I met one that had an email, I would ask him the email and I would send them my music for free because my music has never been sold in Africa. So I have like a huge success in Africa based on piracy.
Oh,
So I understood,
right. Yeah.
yeah, there's no CD store,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So how all these people in Mozambique, in Angola know me, they never bought the CD. The only way they buy the CD is if I come to a show and I bring some CDs with me in the bag. So all this to me was actually a cumbersome way to do business because my huge base, I had a huge base in France, but my huge base was in Africa. And there was no way to send them CDs because there was no store. There was no place to store it. All these problems, the internet was actually the answer for me.
Exactly.
So I ended up early on seeing YouTube as the answer, seeing iTunes as the answer. I was like, I'm going to put everything on iTunes. And when iTunes arrived in Africa one day, boom, I will have a whole market. And then there was the Spotify's, the streaming, etc. But I've seen early on what I could do with the MP3. But I knew early on if I could do it, that the market of CDs would die. Just knew it.
Yeah. You just had that feeling that technology was going to take over, and
Yeah, it was. It. I mean, it always took over.
Yeah.
But it just went exponential. Soon as the first iPhone came out, and soon as internet was free, I would say like you pay $10 a day, you have internet like in your house on Wi-Fi, completely unlimited.
yeah.
I remember the days when to connect to the internet, first of all, it was super slow. And you had to wait first for the connection.
Yeah. Cutting
And
off and everything. Yeah.
yeah, to do an image, to download an image,
Yeah.
it would take 5 minutes. To download a website, it would take 5 minutes. And we were used to it because we knew it was, and we were so excited with the revolution of being able to connect with the outside world from your house. But it was so slow. And then I was reading about those two technologies. The first one was MP3, where a master that is a 40 megabyte file would be turned into a 4 megabyte file, and then ADSL which would turn instead of using the wire, the copper wire from the telephone, they would start using the electricity
Wow.
to pass the internet. And then in 10 years, they would have fiber optics. So I'm reading this in 2000, and I'm like, wow, I'm going to be able to send my songs everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So in 96, I already had Kaysha.com.
Okay.
So I was already like using this to send links to any DJ around the world that had an email. So I would go on I would search like on early before Google. If there was Alta Vista, I would go on Alta Vista and look for radios, Radio Jamaica, Radio West Indies, Radio
Right. And you would
Portugal,
send
Radio.
them. You would send your songs to their email.
Yeah, I would send my songs to the emails by MP3. I would also find the addresses, and I would go to the Sony offices, and I would ask them if I could use the mail.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
of course, you're an artist here. So I would send my CDs. I would send like hundreds of CDs every month to the whole wide world. Like
Okay.
I would always write.
I'm just curious, in regards to Sony, did you notice other artists doing that as well in terms of like sending via mail? No.
Now, most artists when they got signed, so you would get so it was before the Euros
Yeah.
when I got signed. The Euros was in I think 2000. I got signed in 98. So back then you would get like the equivalent of I would say 20,000 euros, which was more or less 100,000 francs, which was huge. And most artists would buy a car, they would go to the club, etc., etc.
Exactly.
They were actually shocked at Sony that I asked for 50,000 in cash and 50,000 in material.
Why?
They had because they were Sony, they had special discounts on studio equipment because they had their own studio.
Okay.
So if they could buy the equipment for me at Sony prices and put it in my advance.
Right. So,
So-
it will be cheaper in the long run.
So I bought my first microphone. I bought myself my first home studio
Got it.
because in my head I knew that hey, if one day I want to record by myself or if I want to do a demo, I can do everything at home instead of having to go to the studio to finish the songs. Because a lot of us back then we didn't have like today, kids have access to plugins that do the work of 20,000 euros machines of back in the days.
Yeah.
Me, back in the days, you really had to have machines. You could not. The computer was just sequencing the music. Back in the day, you needed to have like a synthesizer, the keyboards, etc., etc. So I asked them to buy all this for me: a mixer, a microphone, etc., up to what was more or less 10,000 euros, and the other 10,000 euros, I put it in my bank account. So they were already telling me that, oh, it's peculiar, so strange. Most people of your age, when they sign, they just want to party,
and, yeah.
show off, get a car, girls, etc. And me, I was like, what?
Yeah, cause that's the thing about life, you know. Life be lifing, and you could obviously have that record deal, but life can change at any moment, and at least you.
I think people don't think about all that.
Yeah.
When you're young, you just busy trying to impress people that don't like you. You busy trying to be famous.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, they just want to be famous, or they just wanna, they want to sing because of, it's great to sing. It might be a passion. You see another guy that is singing and gets all the girls, so you want to do the same thing, or
Right.
you see a girl super popular because she's a singer, and you're like, I can sing too, and like
Yeah.
everybody come for a different reason. And some people they come for the fame,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and I came to express myself. and I was already like underground famous. Already was very popular, and I've always been my whole life, as long as I can remember, popular with girls. So all these things were not what I was interested in.
Yeah.
And actually, when I signed to Sony, I was coming out of economic. I was at La Sorbonne, the prestigious university. So I finished school at 17, a year before everybody. And I thought it was over, but my mom put me in economics. So
Wow.
now I study economics, movements of money, all
But
these
that's so good.
offer, offer and demand, all these things. And
Yeah.
I was bored in class because
Yeah.
it was the same time as David Guetta has his second club, which was the most famous club called Les Bandouches in Paris, prestigious club. And so one day I'm with David Guetta, and he he was the DJ of his own club. It was a very small club, but very select. And I was one of the guy that could enter there. So I remember him telling me that he wanted to be into music, and I was like, huh? And but then he was like, you gotta you go to the university, right? The Sorbonne, right? And I was like, yeah. He was like, yo, listen, I'm gonna give you 100 invitations for the club every weekend, every week. So you can get for free with your people, but in exchange, you give the invitations to the most beautiful girls and the nicest people
Like in the
that
industry. Yeah.
and you give to the right people. You give
Yeah.
the invitations for the club. So when I would be at economy class, a lot of people would come to me because they knew I was the guy who had the invitations to go to Les Bandouches in
Got it.
Paris.
Yeah.
So that's how. And at the same time, I was learning offer and demand, and at the same time, yeah, I was in the club, and the club was not on. It was not on weekends. The best day was on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. There was this guy Felix who was doing his parties. Actually, now I think he's the mayor of one of the
Wow.
places in Paris.
Impressive.
But at that time, he was doing
Yeah.
parties. So at the same time, I was in the nightlife, and at the same time, I was studying economics. And I never realized how much my mom putting me at 17 in economics would change my vision of things, my
Exactly.
economic literacy. Because
Yeah.
actually, all these things that people are reading today, they just in my software,
Exactly.
in
So,
my brain.
no, because that's so important, and that's actually what I wanted to ask you because you've reached monumental success with your music, right? And you know you're very talented and you had great connections, but at one point, because obviously you are still successful, but there's a point where in music, because it involves so much sacrifice, physical, emotional, all of that, it must come to a point where you're like, all right, like let me slow it down a little bit because I also need to enjoy life and focus on my friends and my family and all of my other passions. When did you reach that point where you was like, I'm going to take a back seat, or were you already planning on having, I don't know, the podcast and the NFTs, and how did that shifted for you?
It's two things. First of all, how did I become a label head? Because I never wanted to be a leader. I was too shy. I didn't want to take the responsibility of others people's life. But the more it went on, the more I realized that people were just lining behind me and were asking me, so what do we do now? By 2001, I had sold for Sony around 120,000 of my CDs. So I had gold, which in France was 100,000 plus the rest. And so if we just say 100,000 CDs, I sold 20. in uh in the Fnac, in the
Yeah,
Virgin
yeah,
mega
yeah.
stores at that time. So I think the Fnac keeps 50% for your distribution. So you get $10, €10. It's the same thing. You get 10 per CD sold. So 1,000, that's a million generated. From that million, when you like, oh my God, I'm a millionaire.
Yeah.
But then you read your contract and they paid for everything.
Right. So
Plus,
you're
they
supposed
have a lot of different sections that you didn't read when you signed because you were so excited to sign at Sony.
You're right.
And you realize that you get 6% of the money generated. So you generate them a million and you get 60,000.
Wow.
You're like, oh,
Crazy. That's crazy. That is crazy. Wow.
I mean, it's not crazy
Yeah,
because
yeah.
if you work for a company, they pay you a salary to get people to put their podcast
Yeah.
in their platform.
Yeah.
They pay you your salary, but they make millions
Yeah.
from
From
owning the platform.
yeah, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
very early on, I was like, I gotta own my platform. So by 2001, that's what I did. I signed first artist, me. Then I signed another one. Then I signed Eligio, third artist. And that year, we sold, for the three of us, independently, 80,000 CDs. And now I generated 800,000 by myself. I had a partner, so it was 50-50, and we put them back in the system, etc. But all of a sudden, I went from making money from my shows only in 2003. I was doing a lot of shows, but then we had a structured company that instead of taking all the money, we would put all the money back in the business, but I would get a certain percentage every month. So now I was making 4,000 a month from selling CDs, and I was like, hey, I need to do like 3-4 shows to make that money, but I'm also making it here, and I was making money from publishing because I was doing as a one-man operation. I was all the instrumentals from not only for me, but also for Elisio, for Sumia, ABG, for all the artists that I was working with. Plus, other artists were calling from everywhere in the world. So we get this call from Rotterdam. Hey, remember me? We did a show in Portugal. My name is Nelson Freitas. I need a beat. Deeper. Da 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 da. And then I started realizing by 2006, I'm making 100,000 from publishing money, which is intellectual property.
Yeah.
Meaning that when your song plays in radios, when it plays in shows, when it plays in TV stations, you also get a money that is sent to the composers and the writers. And I was the composer of not only a lot of my songs, but a lot of the songs from other people as well. So I was making money from already shows, being an executive producer, but also an intellectual right owner. So I understood very early, ownership is the key. And, I was looking at the light, which is fame, going to do shows, being famous, women screaming my name, throwing their bra at me, craziness
Yeah.
of traveling all around the world, everybody telling me I'm yours, etc. Guys crying, fame.
Yeah.
The cocaine of life is fame. And I was never interested into the drug that is fame. I was like, to me, fame is a byproduct of the work I'm doing. And at the same time, I was looking in the shadows, which is in the back, production.
Right.
And I was like, that's where the money is.
Yeah.
The money is not in fame.
Yeah.
They tell you to be famous so that they can make money from you. So they can
Like distract you.
Listen, these people will come to you, tell you, oh, you better than Michael Jackson, da 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 da. Come to my club. Oh my God, I'll pay you 1,000 to perform 1, 3, 5 songs. Mm-hmm. So you go there, you perform, and you get 1,000. For you, it's amazing because you can pay your rent.
Exactly.
I would go to a club and I would be, let me count. Sometimes I would be at if we had a VIP that was like on the top of the club, they would go to the top floor for us. Mm-hmm. I would count 12 people in the club. And I would be like, I would count them one by one as I'm waiting to perform. I would be like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, there's 1,000 people here. Okay, let's say, are the women paying here? No, it's 10 for everybody. I was like, okay, so 1,000 people by 10, that's 10,000 people. Okay, so they're making 10,000 people from me. How much is the bottles? How much is a table? Those tables to get table is 300. Okay, so how many tables do I see? There's like 50 tables. Oh, okay. 300 by 50, that's 3,000 by 5.
Oh, no. So I'm just
making like 25,000 from I'm getting 1,000.
Exactly.
And I'm the reason why everybody's coming to this club.
Exactly.
So I was to other artists, and they were like, see, people are coming for me. I'm amazing. I was like, no, you need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it's just my view of the world is so different from most artists that I've always been able to look at the whole picture, the full picture, and I would understand what is the sacrifice that I'm doing. I would understand the sacrifice of being robbed from your money to certain things, or having to pay for that. And for a long time, I just started building what took 10 years to build. Right. My catalog, because I realized that early on I was on iTunes. I think I'm the first African to ever sell 100,000 MP3s on iTunes. I like, because back then it was only me and the big companies, right?
Yeah.
So at a point, I'm making $50 a month from my catalog, and I'm excited like a little flea. I'm jumping everywhere. I'm like, I'm at $50, and we're like, yo, listen, we sell 10,000 CDs, we make 100,000. Why are you excited about your little $50? I was like, because I didn't do nothing for them. I didn't have to go through the whole distribution system, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I made it on my own.
So the deals that I signed early on for my 3rd, 4th, 5th album, et cetera, was we do 50-50 or 60-40 on the sales of CDs, but I want 100% of the digital. And all these people didn't care. They would sign those contracts because they didn't care about that digital thing. It meant nothing to them. And me, I was like, I'm signing the future. And by 2004, somebody came, and I had an artist called Sumia, and she was selling more CDs than me. And one guy came to me and said, ain't it like painful? I said, painful? What? I said, no, like, ain't you pissed? I said, pissed at what? Your artist is selling more CDs than you. And I look at him, I was like, all the money is going in my pocket.
Exactly.
He was like, oh my God, I never thought about it this way. I was like, well, how do you guys think? Like,
yeah.
And I think in 2007, to answer your question,
Yeah.
in 2007, I was hired by another label to do a girls group. So I did like they asked me to do everything, the music, the writing, and even the concept, because it was a hip hop label and they had no girls. They never worked with girls, but because I signed a lot of women, they asked me, "Hey, listen, we want to do this girls band, and we need you to do everything for us. We already have the girls. Say, okay, are they good singers?" And they told me one is a singer, the other two are models that we cast. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
wow.
okay, okay. So we're gonna
Interesting.
go Destiny's Child. We're
Yeah.
gonna do the Destiny's Child version one model
Yeah.
when it was Beyonce and Kelly, the singers, and the other two were just replaceable.
Yeah.
And so the group was Lides, and I really did Lila as Beyonce, and the other two as not Kelly, because Kelly's an amazing singer,
Yeah.
but the
Amazing.
first version of Destiny's Child. You have the other two that nobody remembers. Okay,
Yeah.
those two were just beautiful. I made a structure. I told them to do to structure the contract as the lead singer would have a different contract than the other two, and the other two didn't even need to come to the studio. They would come just for the vlogs, to film, or just to support, but they would not sing. From time to time, we would make them do a AR somewhere when it's not, but they didn't
Okay.
sing nothing in the album. And by then, one of the girls left the group, was replaced by another one. Then there was another one that came, and then she left. And then they had the final version of the group. Then a TV station, so we put out a song called On a changé, which became huge in the West Indies, in Africa, in France, but in the Caribbean market.
Right.
It became huge. So everybody was like, oh, okay, your new group, da 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 da. I was like, oh, that's not my group. I've been paid. I've been paid to produce. When I come back from tour, they tell me that a TV station, which is the second largest TV station in France, wants to buy the contract. And they want everything. They want the publishing, they want everything. I'm like, oh. And so they signed. They signed a contract. They asked me to redo the songs in a more for white people.
Right. Well,
Bluntly.
yes. Less of an urban way.
Yeah, redo the song, like
Yeah.
BPM up 20. I was like, what? Are you crazy?
Yeah. Very,
Like,
very popish. Yeah.
do it popish, da 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 da. I had to
Yeah.
talk to those label people that had no idea what I was doing. They were telling me, can the song be more bouncy? I was
Yeah.
like, what is she talking about? So I would just rename the files plus bounce, and they would be like, yeah, exactly like that. I was like, oh. Now, with the girls to Miami, they shoot a new video for the new version of the song, the fast one that I hate. I hate that version.
Okay.
But I was like, okay, you want that? They wanted that summer anthem for, the yearly summer song.
Yeah.
And the girls were super cute. They were 18, perfect for everybody. So I was like, okay, listen. So we went to a nice kizomba.
Yeah.
To a. I was like, oh my God, I hate it. But listen, call the guitarist, play me those guitars that they like.
Yeah.
We put the song out. The girls go to Miami. They shoot a brand new music video. And then the TV station starts playing the song every day, every hour. And every time I turn on my TV, this song is playing. Before the news, before Secret Story, before this, before that. And because they owned Secret Story,
Okay.
the TV show,
Yeah.
for the Americans listening, it's like Big Brother.
Exactly.
And inside of the show, that they play the song as well. So they made the song uber successful
Yeah.
because in their contract that they did with the producers, they were making 10% from the money generated, and they asked us to give the publishing. So the publishing is a song has the writer, composer, and the publisher, and they wanted the publishing part from the writers and composers. So because I wrote almost all the songs and I composed them too, I had no problem giving them 50%. But now because they were making 50%, they had an incentive to play and play and play because they would make
More.
because they pay every time they play songs on the TV. But because they own TV, if they pay 1,000 every day for from playing song, they get 500 back. But then the person who composed the song get the other 500.
Got it.
So I'm sitting on my TV every day, and after 6 months of the song playing every day, I receive a check of 150,000 euros
Oh, sweet.
of just composer rights and writing rights for the two songs.
Only that.
Only that. And I was like, when you have this epiphany, you're like, oh, that's really where the money is. Listen, so I would do shows for a whole year, traveling the world, taking the plane, having pain in my back, etc., having to sleep in all kinds of hotels, nice hotels, bad hotels, good studios, bad studios, great shows, horrible backstage, great public, bad public, great microphone, horrible micro, all these things to try to make 100,000, 80,000 in a year. And sitting on my sofa, I made 150 from 2 songs. When I was I was producing around 4 albums. My albums, the albums of the artists I was working with, producing here and there, selling beats for 500 or 800 a beat, etc. And sitting in my sofa, I made 150. I was like, oh, that's really where the money is. So, and by that time, my son is 5 years old. He lives in Belgium with his mom, and I'm always traveling. And not only I live in France, but I cannot go on weekends because on weekends I'm performing. So I can only come maybe Sunday morning, and spend the day with him, and then Monday take him from school, stay with him at home, and then I have to go, and I will only see him in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because I have to be in the studio. I have to perform. I have to do this. I have to do that. And every time it's heartbreaking to see him by the window
waiting for you or
their
saying
house,
goodbye.
their house was they had a house, and the main window from the living room was giving to the street. So when I would leave to take my taxi, he would be on the window looking at me like so sad at from like 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old. I have to leave this thing every time that, okay, daddy's gonna leave. And he would not even talk. He would just be there in the window crying, looking at me. And it would be heartbreaking every time. But I had to go.
Yeah, you
feed
have
him.
to do it. Yeah.
But that was a horrible sacrifice as a parent, when you know that, I have to feed him, and that's how I feed him.
Exactly.
And I don't live with you. So every time I come and I'm in the taxi, his mother called me all the time crying, and she's like, it's crying, I don't know what to do. And I was like, get him on the phone. And we had to do this every time. And I was like, it was kind of a trauma for me. And it was like, okay, the day I get another kid, I will never make them go through that again.
Yeah.
Sacrifice of music, the sacrifice of giving everything for the music, the sacrifice of getting dumped by girls that you love, because you're never there,
You're
or
never
because
there.
what there you're in front of your computer, or you're mixing, or you're
Yeah.
this, or they have to go to the studio all the time with you, all that stuff, because
Yeah.
this is what you are building, something that you know where it's going to take you, but it's going to take 20 years. So all the people you meet in those 20 years,
Yeah.
you will not find enough people that are ride or die enough
To wait
to
around.
wait around,
Yeah.
to be there, to want to see a movie, but in front of your computer, or as soon as you're done seeing the movie, you go back to your, as soon as you're done making love, you go back to your computer,
Yeah.
like, because I have an idea all of a sudden, or you inspired me something. Like, it's funny, I was talking to an ex of mine. Uh, I was in Paris not so long ago, and we had dinner, and we were talking about the song Deeper, and I was like, do you know you inspired that song? And she was like, what? I was like, well, we just made love that day.
Yeah.
And after that, I was like, deeper. Oh, I did the beat. And I did the rap. And then I started to Nelson Freitas, and he put his vocals, then I put my rap, and then
Yeah.
he became that it is.
The hit.
And
Yeah.
but and then we were talking about this, and she was like, we were talking about why it didn't work.
Yeah.
And she was like, I was just scared of being with you. You were larger than life. And I was like, yeah, but did I ever treat you like
Badly or yeah.
or was I like?
Yeah.
And it was like, no, you were. Listen, from all the people I dated, you were actually the most down to earth,
Wow.
amazing, caring, etc. It's not you. It's everybody else.
Everybody else in the lifestyle.
Everybody else's opinion. When you say, "Oh, I'm with Kaysha," and she was like, I never assumed it," and I was like, "It's crazy because I had this other song called Fiona,
Yes.
and Fiona herself never assumed me as well. When her name is famous because of the song,
Yeah.
but all this like people don't understand the sacrifice it takes to not only build something great, but also to be in music. And a lot of people, yeah, they don't care, they unfaithful, or they single, etc. But me early on, I had to deal with the breakups, raising a kid from not only from far away. Belgium is 2 hours away, but you had to tour. So
Exactly.
sometimes you had to tour for a month. Sometimes you go to the West Indies and you stay a month. Then you come for 4 or 5 days, and then you go to Cape Verde for a month,
Yeah.
and then you have to go to Mozambique for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, so a lot of people, yeah, they don't realize it, and I think I got to a point where all the things that I envisioned became reality. Because it's one thing to say, MP3 is going to change the world, or like the internet is going to change the world, but the internet is not fast enough, and not enough people have the internet. But around, I think, when the iPhone came out, I think 3 years after, 2010, the internet really became something that everybody had, like in the house. And then it was starting to become mobile, and everybody had it in their pockets slowly. So another 5 years. So it took 15 years to arrive to a point where I was like, there we are.
Yeah,
So
we're
by
finally right.
2012, I was looking at my revenues, and I was saying to myself, wow, I'm now making the same amount of money monthly from YouTube. I think by 2008, YouTube was paying my rent.
Wow.
So
So you were already using
monetization.
AdSense, yeah. From
Yeah, I've
2008.
been on.
From your
Listen,
music videos, right?
You're talking to Mr. First of everything. I was
No,
first.
that's really
I
cool.
was the first person. I sent them an email. I said, "Hey, I have this recording label. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
These are my songs. Pa 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 pa. Links to iTunes with my name. And I see my songs in a lot of videos that are not my channel on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I would like to know how you
Yeah. How can I make money from
what are you
this?
gonna do?
Yeah.
Like what are you gonna do?" And I
Yeah.
received an email like a week after saying, "Welcome to the YouTube monetization
Wow, 2008.
program,
Now that's smart.
2008." And not only I was making money from my YouTube channel, I was also making money from every YouTube channel that had my music in it.
Exactly, because that's the other point. Because now
Mhm.
that doesn't really occur, I think. They've changed that. Because I was
Yes.
going to ask you for
No,
that.
no,
Because
it does, it does.
you have a lot of other channels that are using your music, which was very common back in the day. Well, they take
Yep.
the sound, right, the MP3,
Fans.
yeah, fans, like, and they put the lyrics on, and
Hmm.
and if it's not in your channel, you're not profiting from it. But now you're telling me that you also profit from that.
Yeah, but from soon as I got accepted to the partner program,
Yeah.
I signed as a creator, but I also signed as a content owner.
Got it.
So
Got it.
my contract has content
Owner.
ownership. So when I put a song out, I put it on my channel, but I also upload the song to Content ID, which is their system to fingerprint your audio and recognize it all around YouTube. So I'll make 2 million views from my channel every month,
Yeah.
plus 3 million views from every other channel. And I have some videos with, like, for example, I have a video that has 10 million views, and it's not on my channel. It's a Kizomba fan
Playlist or
channel,
something. Yeah.
something, whatever. And I have I can see all the views, where the views are coming from. I have the same analytics as my YouTube channel, but for every channel that is using my content. And I have a special backstage on YouTube that has where I have access to all the all the data of who's using my channel, which song is making what views from how many videos, etc., etc. So very early, YouTube started to pay my rent, and I was like, wait a minute, I
Okay.
need to pull that money. Like my rent was 800 at that time, and I was getting 700 from YouTube, and I was like, oh, that's the
Sweet.
first thing I
Yeah.
received, and I was like, okay, going full in on YouTube, going full in on that revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, at that time, I was making something like 500 from iTunes
Okay.
every month. And I was like, wait a minute. That's the same as taking the plane or taking the train, going to a hotel, checking in, putting out my thing, taking a shower, sleeping, waking up at 2 a.m., going to perform for people, tired or not, heartbroken or not, my mom is in the hospital or not, whatever. Performing, you have to give it to people. Then do photos, smile, da 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 da. Be patient with people saying, "Oh wait, it's not my. Wait, can we do the photo again? I don't like it." Multiply by 500 people, etc., etc.
Exactly.
Go back in bed at 6 a.m. Be tired, take a breakfast, go to bed, then wake up at 8 a.m. or 7 or 10 a.m. or 12 a.m. Go back to the train station, pack your suitcase, train station or plane station, go take the train, arrive home again, and be paid 1,000 for the whole thing. And
Exactly.
now you're telling me that I can make that money from my sofa?
Exactly.
Okay, we're gonna work on that. So I
Absolutely. Yeah.
so about 2008, yeah, I'm making money from YouTube, I'm making money from shows, and I'm making money from the catalog. All the
Yeah.
songs I own. So I go to the label that signed me at Sony, and they stopped working with Sony at that time. But they still owned my 2 albums, and
Okay.
I bought I bought my masters.
All right. So you were
I
free from the
bought
contract. You were
I was already for a long
okay.
time, but they still owned my
Okay.
my books. But for them, they already sold all the CDs, so they didn't care about what I would do with them. I said, no, listen, I won't put them on iTunes. And we're like, iTunes, but there's no money there. I said, yeah, I know, but I want to have all my things, da 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 da.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, problem.
Because at the time they weren't on the streaming platforms, so they didn't really know
They had
the
no idea what I was
potential
doing
of
and
it.
knew.
Got it.
So I bought my two masters of my first two albums, and I had complete control and ownership of my whole catalog. And then I started working on it. By 2012, I was making, I don't know, $3,000 or euros from everything.
Yeah, collectively.
YouTube views, sale. There was this new platform, Spotify, that I was seeing the percentage of sale volume was becoming bigger and bigger because of streams and I was like, it's interesting because as I told you before, I view the world in a way where I see everything and I calculate everything and I can see something that I have nothing to do, I can tie it to the business. For example, one day I look at where my views are coming from or where my streams are coming from, and I see Ukraine. And I'm like,
Why?
Who are these people? What's going on, right?
Yeah.
So I go to YouTube and I type Ukraine Kizomba. And I realized that they are doing Kizomba festivals in there.
Interesting.
By 2012. And I'm like, huh, okay. And I go to Spotify and I look the countries where they are and I see Ukraine. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Now it makes sense.
I go look at the price of the internet in Ukraine, and they say X amount per month give you access to internet for X amount of megabytes. And I was like, all right. So every time the internet is going to be more affordable in a country and Spotify is there and iTunes is there, my catalog is going to start playing in that country. Which is exactly why the J Balvin, the Anita blew up. Right. It's not because they have great music. They had great music before. It's just that the telecoms gave to all the kids €5 for all you can eat internet.
Yeah.
And that music blew up because of the number of people who already all of a sudden had access to the internet, and Spotify came in.
Exactly.
So all of a sudden all these people
could listen to it.
So I was telling people in Portugal by 2011, stop selling CDs. It's over. Yeah. Let's go and put music on the streaming services, because once Zon or Meo or whatever company starts giving internet to the youth at a good price,
it's over.
And the Spotify is here, it's over. And then nobody listened to me. And at a point, one day I remember coming back to Portugal, and I see that I see a big, so when you go to Colombo on the Segunda Circular, there's a big ad for Mosh, which is like a
so
Portuguese telecom for
company,
more for
phone and
people, right?
internet company, yeah.
And it was like $4.99 per month and free Spotify, free YouTube. I was like,
it's here.
And that's exactly when all the artists exploded in Portugal. The views on YouTube exploded.
Yeah.
The views on streams exploded for all these artists at that moment, just because of the confluence of these technologies and markets being prime for
Yeah.
the streaming services. And that's exactly what I was saying. I'm waiting for Africa, where I have the bulk of my people. And that's when I said to myself, okay, it's time for me to move to another country. Because by 2012, I was country agnostic when it comes to revenue. So I chose, like, okay, where do I live? I can live anywhere. I'm going to make the same exact amount of money. Because when you do shows, you also trapped to your market. It's like where do you have a job?
Yeah.
If you do shows in Portugal and all your public is in Portugal and you perform in clubs in Portugal, maybe Spain, you have to stay there. You cannot move to
Yeah.
Thailand.
Yeah.
Where you come from, the internet, you can live anywhere in the world.
Absolutely.
2012, I looked at the list of countries where I would love to live in. So Lisbon, Sao Paulo, cities, Lisbon, Sao Paulo, Bangkok was too far for shows, but it was cheap to rent. And then Lisbon at that time was in deep crisis. It was the Troika.
Yeah, Turkey. Yes. So yeah.
So rents were, listen, I took an amazing penthouse in Oeiras with view of the seas, with like 100-meter square terrace, and they told me that the price was 700. I was like, yo, YouTube's gonna pay
700 in Oeiras. No, that's a good deal.
in front of Oeiras Park. So like, and with sea views and stuff on the hills, like, and that's where I moved to Portugal. And the first year, all I did was work on. So I would take the plane to go do shows in France, and I would also do shows in Portugal and other places, Cape Verde, etc. By that time, I had a huge market for shows, because I also learned to market myself to be able to perform everywhere.
Okay.
But I worked for a good 1 year on maximizing online profits and creating several streams of income. There's no millionaire that doesn't have a minimum of 7 streams of income. So I was like, I'm going to have incomes from everywhere. And I started like, I already had like all these pet projects, like the clothing store. I had and streaming, sales of iTunes, publishing, money from catalog, so copyright, plus shows. So I already had like 5 to 6 streams of income, but I was just maximizing the ones that were automatic. Meaning that I don't need to do nothing for somebody to take their phone and listen to my music on Spotify.
Yeah.
So I stopped focusing on that money.
Okay, that's really, really impressive, and I think you've answered my question, because luckily,
I was like, oh my God, I'm answering 1,000 things.
But that's great. That's great, because that means you're comfortable and you talk, and that's exactly what we want here in the podcast. We want real, honest, interesting stories, and we want to learn from the people who have already done it.
I mean, didn't do it.
Yeah.
I've done that.
Yeah. I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast. I wish we could talk way more, but I don't want this to be like an enormous episode, because I would love to have you for another time. I can tell that you know a lot about, I have a feeling that you also know a lot about investing and all of that, just because of the NFTs. So I'm trying to learn a little bit more with this book and just like overall research. So I will gladly have you back on the podcast for us to have a chat about that. But
is the book about
investing?
So the book about financial security.
Yeah. So financial freedom.
Because before we go, I just want to comment on a part of the book that I really enjoyed. It's the part when she said that being stable, a lot of women were way more stressed with the lack of financial stability
Yeah.
than
Men.
those who and men. But my experience is that the lack of financial stability is what stressed me the most.
Yeah.
Actually, I have when my son was born, my first question was, how do I feed him? And that's the time when I had one of my biggest hits. So I was doing a lot of shows. So I was sacrificing not being with him a lot, but also was I could feed him comfortably. But then I realized that shows sometimes have a lot of shows, and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
So that's stable to me. It's not like, yeah, listen, we buying like 2 years of shows at X amount, X shows per month. No, it's like, hey, are you free this day? Okay, cool. How much it? Da 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 da. Okay, I'm
Exactly.
coming. Cool. Oh, hello. Yeah, the show is canceled. Or it's raining or whatever. Some reason.
Yeah.
Like you can be like, oh, I'm gonna make the first time I felt that stress. I was supposed to do 8,000 worth of shows in Africa. I was going to Gabon for 3 days and was doing 3 shows, I think. And the total was 8,000. So I had 500 in my bank account. I took my credit card and I went and bought 2,000 worth of a new TV, this and that, etc. Because by the time I bought those things on Friday, and by the time my credit card goes to minus, I would be back already from the shows. So I bought everything, and I was like, yeah, I'm good. And then the day I'm going to the airport, my manager calls me and says everything has been canceled.
Exactly.
Something showed up. There's a problem, political problem out there. Boom, 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 cha, boom. Minus it.
Wow.
And now I'm at minus 2,000. I'm at minus 1,005. And I was like, oh. And then I started learning that I don't want to be on that stress.
Exactly.
And for the audit,
I'm sorry to cut you off, but what the book pretty much talks about is investing. A lot of focus is on women because I feel like a lot of women don't really know like the right way to, well, in general, investing is a bit of a, I'm not going to say complicated concept, but it's complex. So you really have to know in order to do it. And so a lot of women don't have this literal finance education. So the book focuses on doing less but earning more, so we can achieve financial freedom, because money is good, but it's good because it gives you freedom to do whatever you want. So that's kind of like the emphasis of the book. And yeah, we all stress with money, but I'm pretty sure that in that situation where you don't have the stability in your career and you have a newborn, it's hell.
I've produced more executive produce careers of more women than men. And I've seen them struggle with doing the right choice.
Right.
And I had one that gave all her money to a man that took all this money and went with another girl with that money. So I've seen how the fact that for the most part, without generalizing, a lot of women are more into the emotion than the cold fact things.
Yeah.
So they will end society, TV, reality shows is showing them that success is about to be with a football player or this and that and etc.
Exactly.
A lot believe that being financially stable is at the cost of finding love or building a family, when it's not true. You can actually, if you do it smart, you can actually achieve all these goals at the same time. You just have to be organized. And a lot of the women that I work with, I don't know why, like, was this emotional fact that whenever there was a guy involved, And a lot of them today, they don't have that financial stability. When they did huge hits,
Yeah.
but back then I would tell them,
Save.
don't buy the boots.
Yeah.
Don't buy the boots.
Exactly. Go buy the books
I
and get
was like,
real.
do what I did. I'm giving you not only a platform that you
Yeah.
can use to uplift yourself, but also giving you an education where you can do everything I did and then leave my label one day to do your thing by yourself. I would not charge you for instrumentals. I would not charge you for nothing. With 2-3 albums together, then you have to walk on your own. And a lot of artists, men and women, once they have somebody holding their hand, they never want to leave that hand. They never want to leave the house of their parents, in if we can metaphor it way.
Yeah.
They want to continue to have somebody do everything for them, and then they just see, then they perform and they make money from that. Listen, we grow older. As we grow older, the young people are in the clubs. The older people have families. They're not in the clubs. At the point your fans are not in the club anymore, so the clubs don't call you anymore.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is either start investing in different things. Take the money you make from shows, open a restaurant, open a boutique, do something else.
Yeah.
Start having money on the side. Start maybe investing that money back in the project. So you get 50% of the money, 20% of the money, etc. Or start writing for the young girls so you can make the publishing money.
Exactly. I'm also interested in this because, like I told you before, I used to sing, but I'm not too...
I'm your fan.
Yeah, thank you. I am not... I've noticed that I'm not really...
You don't like the industry?
I don't like the industry. I'm not that girl.
Yeah, it's...
At all.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
I mean...
But I do like writing, and I do like getting money privately. I don't need to be seen.
The problem of this industry is you can be in this industry full of sharks if you are with somebody that is your submarine, somebody who's protecting you.
Right.
A lot of women are not protected in this business. They're used. They just being exploited by people who take a lot of their money and just
being taken advantage of. Exactly.
Like you had nothing, you go from nothing to making 500 per show, but they sell you show at 2,000, and they should take 500 and give you 1,005. But that's the big issue with this business, and some people they're like, I'm not built for this. I'm not like.
No, and you gotta be real.
I know I have too much heart.
Yeah.
In this business, I was like, I don't want to do it anymore because I don't exploit people, and when you don't exploit people, sadly, they betray you for people that will exploit them.
Exactly.
You're like, you never win in this shit.
Yeah. You just be like, I might as well exploit you as well, but since I have a heart, I won't do that.
Listen, I had some rules. I had rules like, hey, I don't have an intimate relationship with people I work with.
Oh no.
I don't want to exploit them. I want to pay them what they owe, etc., etc. I want to let them do. I want to guide them more than tell them what to do. And interestingly, then they go fuck with somebody, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm leaving." You're like, "What?
Yeah. What? Why?
My new boyfriend X plus, my new boyfriend manager promoter."
Right.
I was like,
yeah, we all know that sad story. We all know how that ends.
Listen, that's good.
Yeah, but like I said, because we're gonna be here talking forever.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for coming on the podcast, being so real and cool, and just sharing your experiences. I've learned a lot today. I hope that you guys have learned a lot. Hopefully, I'm joining you on Club Shada on Sunday, correct?
Yay!
Yes, so we'll have a blast, and you guys will see each other in the next episode of the Mary's World podcast.